Welcome to another edition of the CEO's blog. I've missed a few editions, and this edition we've got quite a bit to get through, so thank you for joining us, John.
Always my pleasure, Amanda, and welcome back.
Thank you. Let's kick off the Alabar Breeders Challenge. Heats started last week and they've been quite popular. There's been a few extra heats run.
Yeah, extra heats. I think it's about $120,000 in additional prize money that Harness Racing New South Wales is distributing in these races. Of course, there's the ups and downs with this. With the additional heats, it makes it more difficult. Well, not really, but you have to perform very well to make it through to the semi-finals. But anybody that wants to see where they're ranked, they can go to our website and check out where they are, because the last round of heats at Menangle for both the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds, there'll only be 2 heats for each sex at that meeting. The winners can't compete that have won the heats, and it's a real battle to the end to make the semi-finals, but that's good. Competition is great for any sport.
Yeah, okay. So if say a horse finished 5th or whatnot in another heat, they can go to that Menangle heat and better their position? They
can certainly attempt to.
Yeah.
With those Menangle heats, first drawn are horses who have not competed in a heat.
Okay.
Now, because we're running these additional heats, there will still be plenty of room, or there'll be room, I won't say plenty of room for the horses who have competed, such as the example you give of the 5th horse. But they'll have to really step up, because basically you need to run 1st or 2nd in the heats to qualify for the semi-finals.
Okay, well, they're lucky at Wagga last night, Tuesday night. They had 3 heats of the Breeders' Challenge, and they were lucky to get them through.
Well, yeah, unusual occurrence. In the last 15 years, never before has fog rolled into the Wagga track and caused the abandonment of the last 2 races. The drivers and the stewards take safety on board at every occasion, and it just wasn't safe enough to run those 2 races. So they're abandoned. With our policy, of course, the connections will be compensated in some way for making the effort to go to the track. So they're covered there. But it was additional heats at Wagga. There's been additional heats at every track so far, but it was really, some of those results were really heartwarming for connections, I'm sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, one of those connections, we'll give a special shout out to Mark Croato. He won with Harry Day last night at Wagga, and it was topped off a good few days for Mark.
Yeah, a sweet success, which we mentioned on the blog a couple of weeks ago. In the closest of finishes at Forbes, a sweet success with Todd Day, and he's doing a marvellous job, qualified for the Country Series final, and by only a head they won that final. So Mark Croato, he's the Secretary of Goulburn, he's the Chairman of HIREC, he's a volunteer that really puts in, and it's interesting, he's resting and relaxing in Western Australia at Margaret River at the moment, but he'll certainly be back to continue on his voluntary work and to have more sweet success, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe that's the secret. Maybe Mark has to keep on going on holidays and his horses will keep winning.
He was at Menangle.
Oh, okay.
He was at Menangle, just wasn't at Wagga.
Okay. All right. Well, while I was away, there was a bit of movement with the change of tactics, and as of yesterday, Harness Racing New South Wales adopted the new policy of no change of tactics. Yeah,
there'll be no change of tactics announced to the public. Of course, under the conditions, which are available on our website, trainers with multiple runners in a race still must report to the stewards and set out how their runners will be driven. The stewards will rely as they can on the rules, Rule 147 and 149, for any improper practices with those change of tactics. Every driver must give their horse every reasonable chance of winning, and it will be captured in that way. It's been a long drawn-out process. The horsemen have been totally against this rule for many years. A drawn-out process, but the result is what it is, and so the change of tactics rule has been repealed across Australia, but in particular, as from today, actually, in New South Wales.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the reward series. We've got some good news regarding that.
Well, it is good news, and it's good news. It's an increase in prize money, and this falls out of a change at national level where the RO threshold was $3,500. There were little peculiarities with different states, what they did with bonuses and cash incentives. So to appease everybody, the prize money for an RO has increased to $4,500. The reward series is a series that we've introduced at Harness Racing New South Wales for the lower level entry horses, and the board of Harness Racing New South Wales yesterday at the board meeting committed to raising that prize money from $3,500 to $4,500. So that's an increase in prize money across the board. There was, in the initial stages of the planning for this reward series, of making a contribution to the travel costs through petrol vouchers for trainers that travelled a certain distance. That really wasn't going to work. So therefore, that's been pushed aside. But the increase is $4,500 heats into a $10,000 final. So that's a true increase in prize money.
Yeah, and it's COs for CO horses.
They're COs. They're I call them lower level entry horses, but they're horses. They must be Australian bred. But a precursor to that, the first port of call is Breeders' Challenge eligible horses, but they must be Australian horses, bred horses, who have had a number of starts, 5, and have not been successful, 4-year-old CO and upwards.
Okay, and when do they start rolling out in the new financial year?
In July, From July 1, there's a reward series heats into a final in each region, and it just rolls on and on and on. There will be exceptions there where we'll actually suspend the reward series for a fortnight, and that'll be where either the heats, predominantly the heats, have fallen on a club's major meeting, a Carnival Cups meeting, or just a major meeting. So the series in that region only will be suspended for that fortnight.
Okay.
Where the heats are on that major race.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the industry conference. There's been a bit of a change with that as well since I've been away.
Once again, Harness Racing New South Wales, we consult with the industry at all times, and Rod Smith, the chairman, and myself met with HIRIC, the industry representative group, and they felt that the timing of the conference was a little bit too soon for the way that we want to have this forum, and it's an interaction forum, and more will come out on this, but no, that will now be in conjunction with the regional finals at Bathurst at the end of June, end of July actually.
So it's like last year.
It's like last year, but not quite the same.
Yeah.
But it gives everyone an opportunity to come along, and it's free. The ability to speak is free, but the ability to be entertained. There's a dinner that night. All the meals are provided. There's a dinner that night for all the delegates where they can get together and talk and swap commonality, because we're all in harness racing. We all love the sport, but we all want the best outcomes, but we all have different ideas. So we just have to share those ideas.
Yeah. Well, it was a great weekend last year, so looking forward to it again. Let's talk about our rising stars, the future of our industry. We've got an update on that. Yeah,
the rising stars representatives for this year will be announced later this week. We just have to check with those who were endorsed yesterday by the board, that they are available for those dates. These people don't put their own names forward. The associations put their names forward. We go through a pretty rigorous process in that the stewards then check the ability of these drivers, because they're rising stars. They're only new in the sport. We must always remember that owners and trainers provide their horses to be driven in these races. Yes, they get the rewards of penalty-free and prize money and what have you, but the safety of the horse must be respected, and therefore the ability of the drivers needs to be carefully scrutinised. And it's a very good selection of drivers, collection of drivers. They spend a week travelling around the state. I think you'll be one of the chaperones, so I know they'll be in good hands. But it's a great series. Some of our best drivers have come through it, well and truly through it. Some of our really top drivers of today have won this series, but it's competitive, it's friendly, it's combative to a certain extent, but it's a great week for these people to be selected and to represent their areas and to represent themselves primarily.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, we'll look forward to that media release this week. Look, John, on a sad note, we reported the passing of Neville Condon last week.
Yeah, Neville, he was a great guy. 80 years old. He drove a winner as an 80-year-old only late last year. And Neville was battling a little bit of health issues, and he's passed on. He'll be sorely missed. He was a lovely, lovely man. Neville, I can remember him when I was a kid, and that was a hell of a long time ago as well.
No, John.
But he, he was a nice guy, Neville, and to all his family, on behalf of the industry, the board, the management staff of Harness Racing New South Wales, who dealt with Neville on many occasions, our deepest condolences to you, the family.
Yeah, well, also on that note, we also received the sad news of Ken Smith's passing over the weekend.
And this is really tragic news. Motor vehicle accident, totally unexplained and unexpected. And Ken Smith, who'd been in the industry all of his life, his father Clem Smith, bred that super filly great ambition that just set harness racing alight in her years. But yes, Ken unfortunately passed away in that motor vehicle accident. Trent, his son, was injured in the accident, and his grandson Nicholas were injured. Both of those will recover from their injury. But to Ken's wife Sue, these people were the salt of the earth. They were the real stalwarts of the industry, have been in it all their lives, have contributed. There is rewards, but never looking for rewards, just looking for some sort of recognition that they were worthwhile and worthy contributors. Sue will be, Ken has been, but unfortunately he has passed.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they bred a lot of horses?
A lot of horses.
Yeah.
I can remember, once again, when I was a much younger person, I won't call myself a kid again, but they were right behind the ready-to-run sales, the early trialling sales at Young, and they would produce very nice horses that people could go there and buy, knowing there's integrity and honesty with the product, and just take it forward. So a significant loss to the harness racing industry. Yeah,
well, it's a sad note to end this CEO's blog with.
Yes, it is a sad note, but as I say, our condolences to Sue and the family. We know you're grieving, and we hope you recover as best you can. But he'll always be known in the industry, Ken Smith, and of course, you will always, as we will, remember him.
Thanks for your time, John.
Thanks, Amanda.